Hello, my name is Megan Chapman. My candidate number is 0043880011 and this is my presentation for IB Film Studies Standard Level, and today I will be discussing the 2014 Irish drama film Calvary, directed by John Michael McDonagh. The key themes in Calvary are death, anger and religion. McDonagh also directed 2011 Irish comedy film The Guard, which also had Brendan Gleeson for its main character. Both films feature dry comedy, however Calvary's themes are deeper. McDonagh also directed 2003 Australian historical drama film Ned Kelly, which features more similar themes to Calvary than The Guard, such as injustice and religion. This, combined with use of the same actors and returning to darker themes after The Guard, suggests that McDonagh is indicative of his previous work, however it's not consistently identical in all of his films. The binary opposition, individual versus community in Calvary, stimulates strong sympathy from the audience for Father James. Despite being a thoroughly good-natured individual, he is consistently persecuted for representing the Catholic Church, with which many characters have grievances with. McDonagh's intent is to challenge stereotypes and stimulate the audience to consider that within what they may consider a bad group are good individuals. This suggests that the audience of Calvary is an older audience who appreciate its deep message. Todorov's narrative theory of the equilibrium is used in Calvary. The protagonist, Father James, is living a content life. The disequilibrium is where Father James sees a death threat. The new equilibrium is where Father James is killed by Jack and we see a montage of all of the characters continuing life without him. However, Calvary doesn't exactly fit this model because it begins with the disequilibrium, and we are shown the equilibrium after this. Furthermore, we learn that the equilibrium was not content because Father James's religion was corrupt and joining the church contributed to his daughter's attempted suicide. Moreover, the new equilibrium is unsatisfactory due to the death of the protagonist and the continuing misery of different narratives. McDonagh's manipulation of Todorov's narrative theory challenges convention and stimulates the audience to know that they should not follow stigmas. The conventions of Calvary's genre drama are followed successfully. It exhibits real-life situations with realistic characters and settings, helping the audience to connect to each character. This is important to Calvary's narrative because there are lots of different narratives all tied together by intense social interaction with Father James and the community they all live in. If the audience did not connect with all of the different characters, then they were quickly bored with being introduced to many different storylines. Furthermore, the audience is faced with a form of realization of the unhappy ending, which lays importance to the socio-cultural message of the film to break stigma and stereotypes. If Calvary provided a happy ending, the audience would be satisfied and not made to think about the film's message. Because of Calvary's heavy themes, McDonagh has interlaced it with black comedy to allow the audience moments of light-heartedness, even at the climax of the film. This provides release and allows the audience to enjoy the film as well as grasp its message. Calvary links to the historical event of the mass abuse of children in Ireland's priesthood in the late 1980s, and is a sequel of the stigma, a furious reaction to the abusing priest being moved to other parishes to avoid embarrassment, assisted by senior clergy and few prosecutions being held. This link to a major historical event increases Calvary's historical importance and reinforces that it is for an older audience who can recognise its deep message and the themes of the film. Calvary was produced by 3 production companies: Reprisal Films, Octagon Films and Protagonist Films. The economic success of Calvary rates it as the most successful Irish movie at the box office in 2014, grossing close to €1.5 million. This shows that despite Calvary's modest budget of $8 million, requirement of 3 different production companies, it outweighed expected success rates. McDonagh had already established himself to be financially viable due to his previously successful films, however none reached the success of Calvary, showing a massive leap in his work. This could be due to a link to a major historical event, thus boosting the significance of the film. My 5-minute extract is from 26 minutes and 38 seconds to 31 minutes and 38 seconds, and I have chosen this extract because it ties together and is the climax of the narrative and shows us the new equilibrium being reached. The editing in the extract helps convey the emotion and tension between the 2 characters, keeping the audience tense and focused. The editor of Calvary, Chris Gill, began by using a medium editing pace, which creates the feel of a normal conversation, which shows the previous relationship between the characters and reveals the torment that Jack is under. When the first shot is fired, Gill introduces a rapid change in the pace of the editing in correlation with the action, and Jack's thought process rapidly building up tension in the audience. There is a quickly edited shot of Jack flinching, showing his good side, yet his next shot is him looking angry again, which gets more screen time, therefore the audience sees his angry side is dominating his good side. Gill slows down the pace when we get to just before the last shot, so that the audience has more time to focus on the facial expressions of the characters, thus allowing the audience to connect with them. This makes the audience dread the eventual outcome of the scene and feel more uncomfortable. The movement of the gun and the shot being fired with the blood coming from Father James's head are repeated twice from opposite angles. The first time the gun moves to his head is in real time, and the second is in slow motion. This repetition symbolises Jack's 2 minds on his decision and pains the audience even more to see the tragic ending. The pace of each shot in the montage is the same the whole way through, therefore each character is given the same amount of screen time to show how their lives are continuing without Father James and shows their equal importance. This makes the audience feel sorry for his failure in trying to improve their lives in the last week of his and makes the audience feel sorry for him even more. The camera angles and types of shots in this scene help dramatise the narrative and provide significant symbolic features. For example, there is a low-angle shot of Father James's body which is reversed to the back of his left hand so that the audience can see his cut palms, which symbolises Christ on the cross in Calvary and represents his persecution of individual versus community, further linking the film to historical events and the theme of religion. The use of shot reverse shots creates the feel of a normal conversation. However, as it develops, Larry Smith, the cinematographer, adds a long shot looking at Jack, which represents Jack's unstable mind. For example, when he is shouting, then when he stops, he is returned to a shot reverse shot. Smith's use of angles increases the symbolic nature of the scene. For example, there are low-angle shots of Jack and high-angle shots of Father James, which reinforces Jack's power over him. The close-up of Father James looking at Jack is one of the few shots where he is given power, because the angle is on the same level as him, which lures the audience into a false sense of security that Jack won't shoot. However, after this, high-angle mid-shots of Father James have Jack's gun above him, foreshadowing his imminent death, causing anxiety in the audience. The montage tracks through each storyline and uses mid-shots to give an overall appearance of each narrative. This allows space for the character to set the scene and convey information quickly. The music in Calvary sets the scene and provides strong audience emotions. Beginning the scene with just the diegetic sound of the waves makes the sound correlate with the normal conversational editing and camera work. The vocabulary of this scene incorporates subtleties that an older audience can appreciate. For example, Jack uses his explanation of the ending of Moby Dick to represent his own life. The whale represents religion and his attacker, and Ishmael represents Jack. He is the only survivor of the rapes and the other children died. The humorous tones of the conversation made the audience nervous about the outcome. This is emphasised when Jack becomes angry and uses stronger vocabulary such as fucking, which makes the audience recognise the shift to a more unstable situation as there were no swear words previously in the conversation. Then Jack apologising for shoving his wife suggests that he still respects Father James, which gives the audience hope that his good-natured side will win, and shows the fluctuation in the mood of the scene. When Jack repeats the word "yeah" over Father James, the contrapuntal turn in the conversation symbolises the two minds of Jack and the tension building up inside him, which leads to his sudden decision to shoot Father James. Immediately after the first gunshot, music begins to play, composed by Patrick Cassidy. The music adds importance to the scene by allowing the theme to show both gravitas of the situation emerging simultaneously. The Ben Bourbon theme is distinctly darker than when played previously in the film, to show the dark narrative of the end of it. Michael Edwards' piano plays low chords which show the danger of the situation. For example, when Jack points his gun at Peter, a low piano chord is played, which gives a stomach drop feeling. The music in this scene gradually becomes louder, building up to the climax of the second gunshot. The tone of voice used by the characters conveys their emotion. When Father James shouts in desperation, we see a large contrast to his previously controlled voice. Furthermore, when Jack whimpers, "He reminds me of me," we see a large contrast to his previously loud, angry voice. The music during the montage turns to a soft, yet sad piano melody, which plays a louder embellishment when each character is shown, to focus the audience and place depth on each shot and its contribution to the new equilibrium. The mise en scène sets the mood and symbolic nature of the scene. It begins on the beach, which represents the place where Jesus was crucified, just like Father James will be crucified, and reveals that the film has been foreshadowing Father James's death throughout the whole film with clips of the beach. The pathetic fallacy of the dark sky represents the dark nature of the scene, yet there is sunlight creeping through, which shows the innocence taken from Jack and Father James's saint-like persona. The two characters are contrasting in looks. Father James is wearing all black, making him ironically represent the evil side of religion despite his hero role in the narrative, and Jack is wearing white, representing innocence despite the fact that he is about to commit murder. This emphasises the message of good individuals in stigmatised groups. However, both men have messy hair representing their friendship. The dominant visuals are potent in the narrative in its symbolic nature. For example, Father James's cut hand represents his persecution throughout the whole film, his symbol of Christ, and he has accepted his fate, hence holding out his hands. Jack's gun, which he's holding awkwardly, showing he is a good person, and his victimization is what led him to this drastic situation, encouraging the audience to feel sorry for him. Furthermore, Jack's gun is used in shots of Father James after the first gunshot. It is always above his face, threatening him and foreshadowing his imminent death. The sea is also used. The tide is getting closer, just like Father James's death. Moreover, this shot forces viewers to recognise the proximity between the two men, the awkward space waiting to be filled that a normal conversation wouldn't have. The spray of blood onto the beach and the blood on Jack's shirt symbolise the tainted innocence of the rape victims, and that Jack is actually a good person under his new title of murderer, just like Father James is a good priest, thus strengthening the message of the film. Each shot of the characters in the montage shows the new equilibrium. However, they are short, and therefore the dominant visuals in each shot are vital to explaining each narrative. For example, Father Leary inspecting money, Bishop Garrett looking up from his book with the large words God, Milo handing a piece of paper over to an army officer, and Teresa forming the sign of the cross. In conclusion, the heavy themes in Calvary, its historical significance and how this is conveyed through editing, camera, sound, and mise-en-scène leaves the audience with a powerful message, shocking them at the end of this unique and powerful film.